Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilor Rita Murcia.
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Mendonça.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Donahue.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Armand Murcia.
Here.
9 present.
9 present. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I request a moment of silence with darkened chambers for Sophie Fridiani, mother of Lowell Health Inspector Camille Fridiani, loving wife, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. Just a wonderful person, and may she rest in peace.
Thank you. Councilor Rita Murcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence as well in darkened chambers for a dear friend that I unintentionally overlooked last week, Guy Murcia. Guy was a dear friend of mine in the Highlands neighborhood section of the city. He was a member of the New England Teamsters Union, Local 379. He and his brother owned and operated a local restaurant. I'm not surprised, but that he loved cooking. That's probably why he was such a great cook. Surviving him are 2 daughters, one of which is Leslie Oxton, an employee in the school department, his son-in-law Teddy in the DPW, and 4 grandchildren, one of which is Jade, employed in the cemetery department and a former employee of the mayor's office. He was quite a remarkable man, and he will be truly missed.
Thank you. If we could please rise in a moment of silence and darken chambers in their memory. May they rest in peace. Before we begin the formal agenda, we have a couple of special presentations this evening. I'd ask Janet Pitzer, the founder and successful operator of the Wells Emporium, if she would come forward. As most of you may have heard, Janet recently sold the Wells Emporium, but I think it's a chance for us this evening to honor her and thank her for taking a chance in downtown Lowell all those many years ago, and for establishing what is a high quality and one of the premier gift shops, not only in downtown Lowell, but in this entire section of Massachusetts. Janet, it's our pleasure here to thank you for your many years of service, for operating the successful business Wells Emporium for the last 18 years. You took a chance in downtown Lowell in 1989 and had some trouble in the early years, but after that, the Wells Emporium became a downtown anchor and a shining example to other business owners and what they can make of business opportunities in Lowell. The entire city of Lowell wishes great success to you in your future endeavors. Given this 30th day of October 2007, Janet, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to say thank you very much to everyone for such recognition. It's been 18 years of wonderful days for me. I really have enjoyed every moment. I have met some of the most wonderful people. I have had an opportunity to work with different organizations within the city and help, I think, to work on projects and programs that have brought folks into the city. I love Lowell. I really do. I won't leave it. You'll probably see me around, and I suspect I'll be poking my head in at the Wells, too, to see how I can help out. As I said, I've met wonderful people. It's been my pleasure to be here for 18 years, and I thank you.
And now we have a second special guest, and I'd ask Linda Williams to come forward. Linda is the new owner of the Wells Emporium. Before I begin, I should ask that she made a great selection in hiring attorneys before she came into town. But Linda, and although Janet was tough in the negotiations, we're quite sure Linda is going to have great success here. As the new owner of the Wells Emporium, a distinctive downtown gift shop, Linda has worked in retail for over 20 years, including at the gift shop at the American Textile Museum. Linda will continue with the same concept of high-quality, unique merchandise at a reasonable price. Linda, the entire city of Lowell wishes you great success to you and your employees given this 30th day of October 2007 by me, Bill Martin, the mayor. Thank you, Janet, and welcome, Linda.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Janet. I just want to say that I'm very pleased to be here, and I can't tell you how happy I am to be carrying on the tradition of the Wells Emporium. I hope to see you all this holiday season. I've met many of you who have already spoken about what a gem the Wells Emporium is in this city, and I continue to keep it that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We now move into the formal agenda this evening. The first item are approval of the minutes from the October 23rd meeting. Motion to approve by Councilor Armin Mercier, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. We have a request to take the first two motions out of order if there's no objection. I know there are people here interested in both items. So moved by Councilor Milanazzo, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The rules are suspended for the purpose of taking the first two motions out of order. The first motion is by Councilor Caulfield that the City Council request the City Manager take necessary action to name the playground at McInerney Park for John and Chilla Marr. Second by Councilor Rita Mercier. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I attended a groundbreaking ceremony in the Ayers City section at McInerney Park, and the Lowell delegation was present, and once again the Lowell delegation brought in money to renovate our parks and playgrounds. And there were two people who were the caretakers who overlooked that park for 35 years. They took care of the flowers, the trees, the decorations, and so forth, and you could actually call them the mayor of that neighborhood. And those two people were John and Chilla Marr, two outstanding people, and John Marr is here this evening, and the motion speaks for itself. Two citizens who gave everything they had for that neighborhood. And Mr. Mayor, if you would allow, I think John Marr would just like to say a few words on this recognition.
Certainly. Mr. Marr.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Manager, I live in a unique neighborhood up there in Ayers City, and we have a park, and it needed some help, and the state delegation came through with some money, and Carol McCarthy alerted them that our park needed some help, and it was subsequently we got the money for the park. We got help from the city with Tom Belgard and the park department, and I want to thank Carol for alerting the state delegation, Dave Nangle for coming through with the money, and the members of the council for helping out and voting for this thing. My wife would be especially proud, she would, if she was with us, but she's no longer with us. The neighbors that I have up there are helpful. No graffiti, a great little neighborhood, great teenagers and young children, and it's just a wonderful place to live, and I want to say it's nice to be from Lowell. Thank you.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Marr, you may live in a unique neighborhood, but you and Chilla We're unique individuals, no doubt about that. And it's always fitting that we name something after a person, and it's so fitting in this particular instance, because I remember 11 years ago going through the neighborhood and seeing John Ma carrying pails of water across the street. That is devotion. And if you think for one moment that you lost track of time of what holiday is coming up, I venture to say go on Main Street where that park is located and take a look at the beautiful tree that's all decorated with pumpkins that you probably cut out and had the grandchildren cut out and just put on that tree. Whether it was Valentine's Day or St. Patrick's Day, I think Chilla broke you in right to the decorations that she knew how to do, and she passed that down to you. We truly will miss Chilla. She was just a marvelous woman. There's not anybody better than her. But I want to say congratulations. You truly deserve this honor, and I'm proud to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could, I know most members of the council know that John Marr is a retired police captain. He was not born in Lowell, but has lived in that neighborhood up on Main Street now for over 70 years. So, John, I think we can call you a true Lowellian at this point. And we want, on behalf of the City Council, I want to thank you and your late wife, Chilla, for all the work you've done, both at the park with the Sacred Heart Neighborhood Improvement Group. It's really a very fitting honor, and we're happy that this park is going to be named for somebody who's given so much to the city. Thank you very much. Okay. We have a roll call on the motion.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Mendoza.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the motion's approved. Congratulations. Next motion is by Councilor Elliott. The City Council requests the City Manager update the City Council on the number of venues being held at the Songus Arena. Second by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Elliott.
The motion speaks for itself, Mr. Mayor, but I did want to get an update on where we are, knowing that we now have the Lockmonts, the Devils are going to be skating there, as well as UMass Lowell Riverhawks, who opened the other night. Looking at the deficit situation over at the arena and what we can do to close that deficit, and clearly that lies on SMG to bring events and concerts and things of that nature into the arena. So that's the motion. Where are we at? How many days do we have to fill? And what can we do, or what is SMG doing in order to bring more revenue in to make the arena less of a deficit?
Mr. Manager?
Councilor, I'll be happy to, based upon the vote of the council, I'd certainly be happy to get that type of report to the council. I think it's a very important question. I think it's also certainly very timely. Coincidentally, we had an Arena Commission meeting just today where we went over some of those numbers, where we talked about what's been booked on average the last several years and what was booked this past year. Also last week, a number of us had an opportunity to meet with SMG and their corporate officers, some of the corporate officers, as well as Don Law from the Live Nation, which one of the premier promoting agencies in the world. And he had a number of interesting observations that we'll be happy to convey to the council as to what the future of the Songus Arena is in terms of being an entertainment venue for this area. And certainly one of the issues was as we all know, the hockey teams take up a number of dates that makes it somewhat difficult to book other activities at the arena, but we're exploring different ways that we can get through that. and really what the trend is in terms of the entertainment business, in terms of the type of venues that they're looking at and will be looking at over the next several years. So there's a number of different ideas that we talked about and that I think we need to explore. I think also in addition to the number of actual events that are booked there, what we have to look at is the attendance at those events. Ultimately, that's what it's really all about, is how many people we have coming into the city and utilizing that facility, and then as a result of that, hopefully buying some gifts over at Wells Emporium, or visiting some of the restaurants, other shops in the city. If a particular event is only going to bring in a few hundred people, if there's other events that are bringing in, 3,000-4,000 people, I think clearly that's the direction that we should be heading, because that's the type of economic activity that we're looking for. And that was a question I put to Mr. Gates actually today. I believe we had 10 different concerts there last year, averaging, and that's down from the prior few years where we had about 17. Because, as you know, we had some issues with the ice there that we had to deal with. But on average, those events have been bringing in about 4,500, in terms of people buying tickets to those events. So versus some of the other activities that go on there that have substantially less in terms of activity. So those are things that we really need to look at as we explore the future of the Tsongas Arena and how we can close that deficit and make sure that it's really living up to what we intended, what the city intended when it built it 10 years ago.
Okay. Well, you've answered my question. Mr. Gates is here. I wonder if I could ask him a couple of questions on sort of follow up to what you had mentioned, Mr. Manager. 17 events, is that a sort of an average, Mr. Gates? Can we look to increase that? 4,500 is that's a good number. And my follow-up was, does the city get money from the concessions at those events, or how does that work?
Through the mayor to the councilor, Councilor Elliott, over the 7 years that I've been here, can I ask a question first?
Sure.
I've been here for 7 years. That means I need to be here another 63 before I'm considered a true Lowellian. In the 7 years that I've been here, we've booked 114 concerts at the arena. Brings in just over 515,000 people in those 114 concerts. So it averages 17 concerts a year. Last year, we only did 10. There were a number of reasons for that, one being the fact that the last 2 months of the season, we weren't taking any bookings because of the ice situation. But also, as the city manager alluded to earlier in our conversations with Don Law last week, he had stated that there aren't as many, at this point in time, as he said, the whole industry is kind of reinventing itself. The larger acts that we're familiar with, The Who and Paul McCartney and U2, there aren't as many of those big acts, and when they play, they only play in the stadiums or the large venues. There are other events. Hannah Montana is a name I'm sure you're all become familiar with this past couple of months. American Idol, Cheetah Girls, they specifically state where they want to play in 10,000-seat arenas or above. The bands that we would typically get over the last 7 years don't have the staying power that the older bands do. And as Don Law said, that they're developing all these new bands that right now are playing in club levels that within the next year to 5 years will be making their way out into our size venue. Don was very complimentary about our venue. He said he likes working up here with us. He loved the bands that come here, love the building because it's such an easy in and out. They don't have to fight the congestion of a downtown arena. And he felt the only things that we may be lacking that really don't affect it all that much, but would work to our advantage, would be a fall protection system. If you're familiar with the arena, you know it wasn't built with a catwalk. And in order to rig all the speakers and all the sound equipment that we have to rent a boom lift or 2 boom lifts for every show at a cost of $750 a lift, and that gets passed on to the promoter. That gets passed on to the act. Fall suppression system where riggers could come in and hook right to the beams runs about $175,000, but again, if you're charging that back to the promoter, you can pay for that over the course of the years. That was one of the suggestions. The other one was a curtaining system that would make the venue even smaller than it is, so that we could take advantage of the smaller acts that are just playing clubs now, as opposed to the 6,800 seats that we normally have for a concert. We could do acts that are 2,000 or 3,000 seats. And the second part of your question was concessions. We receive concessions income on every event, with the exception of the Lowell Devils hockey and the UMass Lowell Riverhawks hockey. Every other event, we retain concession monies.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gibbs.
Thank you.
Councilor Donahue?
I just had a quick question. When we see the attendance reported in the paper, for instance, for the hockey games, is there a way of determining what the actual attendance is versus the season ticket holders? Because I've spoken to many people who read the numbers in the paper and they'll say, there was no way there was that number of people. Now, that's not to say there weren't season ticket holders, but is there any way that we can be provided the information of who's actually walking through the turnstile and going to the game, so that we have some knowledge going forward? I think that's an important factor that we should be tracking.
There are 2 sets of numbers, Counselor. I'm sorry, through the mayor to the Counselor. There are 2 sets of numbers. One, the first number, and the number that most usually is reported in the newspaper, are the amount of tickets off the system. It's not paid attendance, it's not actual attendance, it's total number of tickets off the system. So it takes into consideration season ticket holders, paid tickets, and any comps that were given out. That's typically what's reported. As you walk through the turnstile, you're hit with a scanner. Your ticket is hit with a scanner. That tells us what the actual attendance for that event is. We don't give out that information for Devils or UMass Lowell Riverhawk events. We don't give that information out because, frankly, it's not our information to give out. But we do give it out. We give out the actual attendance numbers for concerts and other events.
But getting back to hockey, because that's a big issue. And so those numbers do exist.
Yes, ma'am.
Actual attendance. And so who possesses those? Who controls those numbers?
I have them all, but again, I'm not sure what the legal ramifications of me giving out the actual.
Well, maybe that's something that the manager could explore. I just think that's a crucial part of information, and not just this season, but going back over the history of hockey, so that the council knows how many people are actually going to that, as well as to concerts, as well as to, you know, what events and what venues are bringing people in.
See, Counselor, we really need that information of actual attendance, because if we went by what the expectations were for the games, we would 9 times out of 10 be way overstaffed. And since we're on such a tight budget as it is with those events, I need to take a hard look at what they've done in the past versus what I really think they're going to do on this game, so that I'm not overstaffed, because we certainly don't want to be understaffed, because then it's poor customer service, but we don't want to be overstaffed because that comes out of our pocket based on the deal that's cut, and I try to watch that as well. So we do have that information available, but again, I'm not sure how that works in terms of me actually giving it to the council,
Right.
if that has to come through.
Well, and so maybe as long as the maker of the motion doesn't object, if we get that information or refer it to the manager to see if there's a way through the law department that we get it, because I will tell you over and over again, I'll talk to people who've been at a hockey game and they'll read the story of how many people were there, and they'll say, not that you can believe what you read in the paper, but that they'll read the numbers and they'll say, no way there was that number of people at that event. And I think for the city council, you know, not being equipped with those numbers, as well as the concert goers and all of that, is putting us at a disadvantage in making determinations going forward.
Mr. Manager?
Counselor, I agree completely, and that was when I mentioned earlier the average attendance at the concerts that we have versus what we know is happening at some of the other events that take place there. Again, if it's going to have an economic development impact that we're looking for, or even help pay for the operation of the arena through parking revenue and the like, we want the events that are going to draw the most number of people into the city. And I agree with you completely. I think that that's information that's crucial for certainly for the administration, for the council moving forward.
Thank you. Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Gates, if I could. First of all, thank you for being here. My question has to do with the graduations. I know last year, through no fault of SMG, we ended up having to forego some graduations in May and June.
Yes,
I'm just wondering if you have any understanding or idea at this particular point in time if we're going to be able to get those back next spring.
Yes, actually, we're holding dates for everyone that we've had in the past, with the exception of one. I'm not sure. I can't remember off the top of my head if it was Lawrence.
Okay.
But every school that had come prior to last year has all booked dates for this coming spring.
Great. Terrific. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And Councilor, thanks for your help the other day. I
Okay.
appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some time ago, I did make a motion to you, Mr. Manager, requesting that a study be made and form a committee as to the pros and cons of the feasibility and the benefits of keeping or releasing the LaLasha Ball Field in the Songus Arena. The council then said, let's put in another venue, meaning the auditorium, and so we did receive a lengthy report on that, and we did receive a venue summary of each entity in question, and when we received that, part of it was talking about each individual venues, and as well as the Songus Arena, which it says here that an average of 3,116 visitors for the hockey events. This is what happens with that. And an average of 1,984 visitors to non-hockey events. And it went on to say that you did put together a staff of committee members, and you named them all. And this committee evaluated the measurable costs in terms of revenue, benefits to the city, as well as different other factors such that you can't quantify, such as civic pride, branding, such as branding Lowell as a destination city, and what is the spin-off of that, where people hear the word Lowell as a destination city. Let's look at that. It's was spurred a boom to come in to look at apartments here and artist lofts and be a part of this so-called destination city. So you can't quite put a number on it. So I thought it was quite a lengthy and very informative amount of information, such as the committee evaluated the measurable costs and revenue benefits to the city in terms of going into different local establishments, restaurants, businesses, such as Wells Emporium, and the spin-off to that. So, you know, when you analyze the whole thing, it was suggested that, yes, these are jewels to us, and we'll keep it. However, having said that, my personal opinion is we have the Riverhawks here, which is the UMass Lowell. We do have the Devils here. I don't know that we can compare ourselves to like Manchester or even probably Canada and say that this is a hockey city. I really probably don't think it is, but I don't think that it's any fault of Craig Yates, and I'm not saying we're throwing any blame here, but I know the dedication and hard work that Craig Yates gives to this city, that he's a tireless worker, and SMG, and they can really go full tilt if we could, let's say, bring in venues that would spur the interest of people from near and far that know that, gee, I could go to Lowell and see this and stop from going with the aggravation of the traffic in Boston and this and this. You should have had the Red Sox party right here at the Songus Arena today, that we could have had a good time. But I remember how, we could have had so many venues events coming into this particular venue that would have spurred different things like WWF, let's say concerts, many, many more concerts, if we didn't have to tie it up with an event that wasn't drawing the people in here. So that I want to say. I know that I want to keep this Songus Arena because I have faith that people like Craig Yates can make things happen here, and I know he could do it. And I know that we could probably try to get the Antique Roadshow here. Maybe it wouldn't hold everything in the Songus Arena, but why couldn't half be here and half at the auditorium and split up the people to go here and there? I know I'd be there with some of my things that I probably think are valuable, which probably aren't, but this would be a good thing. And I feel the excitement to know that we have a jewel right there, but I think our hands are tied. And so I'm sorry to say that people like baseball, but not so much the hockey. I don't know why, but this is what I'm feeling, and this is what I wanted to express. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes, I just briefly wanted to attest to Mr. Gates' hard work. I was there at the Wiggle Show last Thursday, and he was actually taking tickets. So it got me off guard, and I know they're running a lean crew there, and he's pulling up his bootstraps and doing his share. So I did want to recognize that, and I want to thank you for that. This is going to be, I imagine, an ongoing process, a work in progress, and we got a couple of good surprises, I think, with the hockey team staying in one side, but the downside of that is it ties up some of the more valuable and more sought-after dates. So, but I'm confident that we can turn it around and definitely make it more or less of a burden than it has been. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Donza.
Yeah, one thing, if the maker of the motion doesn't mind to add to the report, is are there, what is the availability of dates to add events? So what's the potential for the arena? And if it were fully booked, could we see the deficit being eliminated kind of thing? So if you could add that to the report, just a sense of what is the opportunity left at the arena for additional events?
Thank you. Mr. Manager, Councilor Caulfield, I'm sorry.
Very briefly, Mr. Mayor, I attended the UMass Lowell hockey game last Friday evening, and the attendance was about a half a house and very enthusiastic. I know the UMass Lowell band was certainly playing their hearts out every time they scored a goal, but I believe UMass Lowell was playing a team from the South, a non-league game. I think UMass Lowell is going to do very well with their hockey program. But speaking of Craig Gates, he's a professional. The facility is impeccable. It's clean. He does work hard, and he's doing his job over there extremely well. So I thank you, Craig Gates, for managing the Songus Arena.
Anyone further? Councilor Elliott.
Well, I think this is a good discussion, exactly why I did file it. It was probably around a year ago that we were faced with having no hockey teams. We had, no Devils or the possibility of even the Riverhawks leaving. So, the building is being used and we are drawing revenue. And, of course, I think the most important point Mr. Gates touched on is keeping those expenses down. Unfortunately, it's still going to we're still going to have a deficit over there, but bringing more events in with concessions and is not only good, but it also helps on the revenue side. So, and I think the suggestion that we get a firm number on the number of people at these games also helps, because that does have an impact on parking, and that's, while it's not part of the revenue stream of the arena, it does help, in the general fund with additional revenue. So it's good to have those numbers. So I think it's a good discussion. I think Mr. Gates does do everything that he can. It's good to learn that he's working with the promoter Don Law, as I've come to learn, is one of the bigger promoters in this area, to bring in additional events and stay on top of the industry, which is what we need to do. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Anything further on this? Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. Back to the original order on the agenda. We have public hearings. The first public hearing, or the only public hearing, is a request from Keyspan Energy requesting 1,000 feet of gas main in Pine Street. I believe this is required for the new Morey School. We'll open the public hearing for those wishing to speak in favor. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Just, your name and address, sir, please, for our minutes.
Good evening. Kevin Clark from Keyspan, and we're requesting permission to lay a new gas main for the Morey School.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. What's the wish of the council? Motion approved by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Caulfield. Roll call, please.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Mendoza.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue. Councilor Elliott. Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
8 yeas, the vote is approved. The next item is under unfinished business. This is a matter held over from last week. A vote declaring surplus the property at 2628 Lawrence Street, Lowell, and authorizing the city manager to seek proposals under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30B, for the disposition of said parcel, namely 2628 Lawrence Street in Lowell. What's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Councilor Milonazo moves approval, second by Councilor Broderick. Any discussion on the motion? Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to thank the manager for furnishing the council with all this information. It was very helpful, and I went through it over the weekend. The overall cost of addressing the exterior of the building was $170,000. The structure underwent extensive exterior rehabilitation, including asbestos siding removal, sill repairs, siding repairs and replacement, window and door restoration, roofing, chimney repairs, and painting. I want to see this on the tax rolls. I really do. I want to see it collecting taxes, and it'd be a wonderful home for 2 families. But I don't want to give it away either. There's 2,500 square feet per unit, 10 rooms per unit. And I don't want to belabor this, but I would like to make a motion to increase the minimum cost from $40,000 to $60,000. I think that's a fair compromise. It's a wonderful structure, and if someone should buy this for $60,000 and they invest $120,000 inside the building in the interior, insulation, wiring, plumbing, sheetrock, etc., they'd have a wonderful piece of property there for $200,000. If that developer rented out each unit approximately $1,200 a month, that would be approximately $28,000 a year in rent. So I think that's a fair compromise to increase the minimum from $40,000 to $60,000, and that's the motion I have before you.
So is that a motion in substitution of the motion that's on the
To
floor?
amend the, what's before
Motion
us.
to amend by
Yes.
increasing the minimum bid price
Yes, right.
to $60,000.
Second.
Second by Councilor Rita Mercia. Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad we delayed it for a week because I really didn't know who this Peter Powers was, but the house is named for this gentleman. Mr. Powers was a well-known mason and a master builder who later was a member of the firm of Reed and Powers. The firm built many large buildings in Lowell, notably the Middlesex County Jail on Thorndike Street, which probably was Keith Academy. So if for no other reason to delay, we certainly learned a good piece of history there. And I'm very proud that Peter lived in this city. And, you know, maybe ultimately we will probably settle for the $40,000. I don't know. I'm not saying that I wouldn't probably support it, but why couldn't we just try one more time to go from $85,000 to $60 instead of $85,000 to $40? That's even less than half. I know that I want to get this house back on the tax roll. There's no doubt about that. But when I asked for pictures and I looked at them, it's no different than anybody that buys any type of house in the city of Lowell, and then they say, gee, I know it looks very pretty this way, but let me just remodel and tear this out and that out. It's already out there for them. It's like they don't have to tear it out. It's already out. I didn't see anything so bad that I couldn't fix up. I know it's a lot of work, and I did look at the pictures, but you can really do a lot with it. Really, you can. If you can see, I know, Mr. Manager, it's a funny joke, isn't it? But it's a funnier joke if we could get 60 and get 20,000 more, you know, that would be good. We probably could put another person on the payroll or, you know, put it towards the general fund and reduce the tax rate another 50 cents or whatever. I mean, I think that I just want to give it a try. With my vote, it probably will fail tonight, but please not let it be said that I didn't try to get every bang for the buck that we could in this city. I don't know how the vote will go, but I would support at least trying to reduce it to 60 instead of 40. That's my idea.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand why Councilor Caulfield has put forth this amended motion trying to get an additional $20,000. Again, we've been through this twice. We haven't been able to sell the property. I, for one, feel that the appraiser did a good job appraising the property and coming up with a value of $40,000. So based on that, I'm not going to support the substitute motion. There's an awful lot of work that does need to be done. I really don't want to see this building sit and go through another winter. Hopefully there is someone out there that would be willing to submit a minimum bid of $40,000. I'd just like to share with the council a project that I had worked on, and some other councils actually in this room were also involved in, and that was the restoration of the Nesmith House back many years ago when the real estate market fell like it's fallen this past year. And the Lowell plant at the time actually owned the Nesmith House, and we put close to $1 million into the Nesmith House, both mostly in the exterior, but we also did some mechanical improvements at the time. But unfortunately, we could not continue to finish the project, so Middlesex Community College came along, and through the efforts of Elkin McCallum and others, they were able to take over the property. But I have to tell you that that property was sold by the Lowell plant to Middlesex Community College's foundation for $32,000 after $1 million was put into the project. So again, the Nesmith House, I think, is more of a prominent building in this particular property, but I just want to say that we have a similar situation here in that we were trying to renovate it, the economy, the real estate market fell on hard times, and we ended up finding ourselves in a situation where we needed to do what was best for the project. And I think that's what we have before us here, what is best for this particular historic building. It's been recommended by the Historic Board that we do this. Hopefully there's someone out there that is willing to come forward and pay the minimum bid price of $40,000. And like I said in my opening statement, I believe that the appraiser, I do this for a living, I review appraisals every day. I believe the appraiser did a good job, and I think that a $40,000 value based upon the comparables that he put in his appraisal is a fair price. I can't sit here this evening and say we're even going to get a minimum bid of $40,000. We may be back here requesting the council look at another number. But again, I share with you the Nesmith House story based upon the fact that it ended up being a very successful. In the end, it was a successful project. The Middlesex Community College, and my hat's off to them, their foundation for the job that they did, saving that project at the urging of the late Paul Songer. So, again, I think it's important that we go forward with the manager's recommendation as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. I said a lot about this at the last meeting. I appreciate getting the appraisal and going through it. I reviewed it also. I don't have the extensive experience that Councilor Milanazzo does, but I've reviewed some. And the first note that I made was it's a year old. And anybody that's been following anything in the newspaper or had to try and buy or sell a house in the last year knows that the market's down probably 10%. It's probably not even worth the $40,000 that was placed on it a year ago. Photos, I had an opportunity years ago to tour through the building on the Historic Board. I know Steve Stoll, the administrator's here, as well as the chairman, Mr. Ilg. And I don't like to say this in public, we're looking for people to bid on it, but the pictures make it look better than it is on in the interior. We're talking about, hazardous material. It's a mess. You've got the restrictions from the grant. This is not a tear down and throw up a like two-family that you can rent and try and make some money. It's in a problem position on the street with a house that there's no parking. There's no potential for parking because that was explored by the historic board, and basically they've got a tenement behind it. Good luck is what I would say. This is not going to be a financial boon to some investor to come in and strip it out quick and throw up some sheetrock and a new sink and sell it or rent it. It's a very difficult property. It's been on the market twice. 2 years ago, I believe, at $85,000. Was it 2 or 3? And we all know what's happened to the market, and it is a minimum bid. If there is interest, and hopefully there is, hopefully we get 2 people that want to bid it up, and maybe we get the $60,000. But we've had 2 failed attempts already, and the sooner we get this on the market and dispose of it, get it rehabbed, and hopefully start getting some tax revenue for it, the better off we are. But I don't have any problems with the appraisal. Like I said, it's a year old. If anything, I think the property would probably have a lesser value today than it did a year ago, just like everybody else's homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Armin Mercia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Manager. Thank you for this additional information. I am not going to second-guess an appraisal. Being a professional in that field, I wouldn't do that, just like lawyers don't second-guess their opinions. But let's look at the cover sheet here that says that this was appraised as 2 single-family dwellings. And apparently we're going to be converting that after the disposition to a 2-family dwelling. I don't know if the appraisal knew that that was going to end up being a 2-family dwelling and whether or not that would have been a factor as to the appraised value. As far as the assessed value, I think we all know what that's all about. The $269,000 is a number that was thrown out there. I hope it doesn't affect the rest of the taxpayers in the city by having a high number that doesn't make any sense. But I really believe that a 2-family today, with the need for housing, has, in my judgment, my opinion, a higher value than 2 single-family dwellings. I don't fault the $20,000 per family dwelling, but I don't believe that if this was appraised as a 2-family, that it would have been the appraised value would have been $40,000. I hope we get a lot more than the minimum bid. I think that it's worth more than that. I think with the need for rental property today, the fact that there was, $85,000 put into it by the state as far as the exterior is concerned. It's structurally sound, apparently, by the look of the pictures. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but there's no structural work required, it doesn't appear to be. And in looking at the environmental assessment in the appraisal, there doesn't appear to be any environmental problems to go with it. I have a question, however, because it says here that the City of Lowell HUD home funds of $85,000 was allocated to this project, and how did this come about? Or is that available now for whoever buys it? Can you ask me how that?
Mr. Bakey, speak to that.
Absolutely. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the council. At the time that the Historic Board acquired the property and did the renovations to portions of the exterior envelope, including the roof and the exterior of the building, the 2 funding sources that were used at that time were a grant from Mass Historic, which created the historic preservation restriction that remains on the property, and a grant from the City of Lowell Home Program. The home funds were tied to the creation of affordable housing units at this location. Recognizing that the property is encumbered by a number of challenges that have been discussed this evening, including the condition of the building and the historic preservation restriction, the city was able to work with HUD to identify some other addresses in the city where affordable housing units were produced and count those other addresses for these home funds. So there is no requirement to repay these home funds or anything else. And at this point, there's also no restriction on the reuse of the property that would be tied to affordable housing. So essentially, no city funds were used there, and that money doesn't tie the project down in any way at this point.
So that total project cost of $170 includes the home funds of $85 and the Mass Historic contribution of $85.
That's exactly correct.
So it's cost the city, no, not necessarily
$85,000, but the project itself cost $170,000. I honestly and truly believe, and it's just my opinion, that raising the minimum, I think, makes an awful lot of sense. I really believe that if we leave it at 40, that's probably the bid we'll get, even though it might be worth more than that. And I know it's a minimum bid, and I would hope that no matter what number we put there, we would market this sufficiently enough to get interest, because I think there will be interest in a two-family home, where one owner could probably live in one side and then rent the other, as they're doing at Julian Steel. So I'm going to support raising it to 60. It's an arbitrary number, but I would rather see a minimum bid being 60 as opposed to 40. I think that'll sell. I really believe that this property is worth more than what we're saying, because if you recall, as I said at the outset, and I saw the comps, and the comps were real, were true, and they were related to 2 single-family homes. But that's not what's going to happen here. Whoever buys this is going to be a 2-family home, and I think that has a bigger value than 2 single families attached on Lawrence Street. I see nothing wrong at all with amending the proposal to make a minimum bid of being $60,000, because I really believe that 40 is too low, and I really think there'll be some interest for that 60 and above. I would hope there'd be much more than that. You look at the pictures, and it's true. You can't, with all due respect to Councilman Milazzo, the Nesbitt House is a government-owned property that really cost an awful lot more than it would if the private sector would have been involved in it for themselves. It is a great project. The Nesbitt House is a great project. It's worked well for the city. However, I'm in favor of us surplusing this and putting it on the market so it can start paying taxes. I'm just troubled with the $40,000 because it was appraised at 40 because of one single family. So I don't see any reasons why we cannot support the amendment of raising it to 60. We're really not losing anything, and I would hope that the bid would be even higher than that, but I would also hope that if it doesn't pass and it remains at 40, that we get a much larger bid than that. And I think, Mr. Manager, with all due respect to the Historic Board, they're not realtors. They tried to do the best they could to sell this, and it didn't work. But I think a good DPD effort through the internet, through the web page, and through the publicity that this has gotten so far, that we would get a better price than the $40,000 that we're talking about. I'm going to support the $60,000 raise, not because it's you, Mr. Manager, but simply because I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think the more we can get out of that, the better. I think it'll go for more than 60, personally, but it most certainly would go for more than 40. My opinion only, without second-guessing the effort that was put into this. So I will support the amendment to bring it up to 60, and hopefully that passes. If it doesn't, then I will support the 40, only because I want this back on the tax roll. But I think that the effort that's got to be put forward here to market this, not just to sell it, but to make a market effort through the internet, through the web page, and word to mouth. There's been inquiries about this place already. So I think the time is ripe, not because the market is not good, but a 2-family market is a lot better now than a single family. That's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Donza?
Yes, I guess clarified one of my questions, which I had saw that's $170,000 figure as well, and had seen a lower figure below. So apparently the $85,000 wasn't spent on this property, but spent elsewhere in the city. I am concerned about the amount of money, the taxpayer money that was invested in this building, and that we'd be asking for such a low number. I'd like to see us get more of a return on this, but I can also see that it's a very distressed property. It's got some restrictions on it now, because whatever they do inside is going to be a major change, I think. So they're going to have to get approval from the Mass Historical Commission. And I'd like to certainly see it move back onto the tax rolls, but I'm still torn with, I think maybe it could get more, maybe through the bid process. I'd certainly like to see us start at the higher number, then possibly go lower after that. And just to try and get additional funds back for taxpayer spending. I looked through the appraisals, and I was actually surprised that the second appraisal, they used the same photos as the first. So it seems they didn't take the photos of the interior on the second unit at 28, because they look to me like they're the photos from number 26. If you look at the appraisal, the three photos they have are the exact same ones. So initially, I'll support the amendment. If it doesn't pass, then I'll support the 40,000.
Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I read both appraisals, and quite frankly, I was ready to vote on this last week because, but it's good to get this information because it sort of just solidifies the fact that we should be grateful to get anything we can for this property. I would like to ask the Historic Board what their experiences were. I wish the people at home could see these pictures because it's really more than a work in progress. It's more than just spackle and paint. And anyone that, and I'm not a appraiser, I'm not a realtor, but this is the third time we've gone out. I also don't want to spend any more money on another appraisal that costs, what did this cost, Mr. Manager, approximately?
These appraisals cost between $3,000 and $4,000.
So this one's a year old, as Council Broadwood mentioned. The market hasn't gotten any better. It's been sitting idle for 7 years. Who knows what may have taken place between, the reports of any structural integrity, and presumably, I mean, we don't want to cut off our nose to spite our face. We want somebody to buy this, but by the same token, I want people to know at home that we would love to get 60. I'd like to get the 85 that it was advertised the second time, or was it 115 the time before that? But sometimes we just have to bite the bullet and say this is what the market is able to to purchase. Any particular person wants to purchase it, and let's get it back in the tax rolls. Furthermore, it's a detriment to the neighborhood. So I did just want to ask Mr. Stoll or Mr. Ilk, one of the two. There are some restrictions on it, but what were the major problems the last time this went out to bid when you tried to sell it? And can you give us a little history? How did you inherit it, and how did we get to where we're at?
Well, what had happened was the board had half of the property donated back in 2000, and the other half was acquired through part of that grant from the state for about $17,500, thereabouts. Over a course of several months in 2000, we removed the asbestos siding, did extensive sill and foundation work, the siding, completely did the roof, reconstructed chimneys and such, and then the process of disposition went forward, and we didn't get any takers on it, mainly because of the extensive amount of work needed on the interior. And after going out twice, in fact, the second time we went out at the 85,000 figure, we did get one response for 20 of the 25,000, and that was if we waived all of the restrictions and oversight on the property as well, which was unrealistic. So that's pretty much where it stood, up till now.
Okay. We need every nickel that we can find in the city at this point in time. And it'd be great to get 60. It'd be great to get 50. I hope we get 40, and there is some competitive bidding. I don't know what marketing was done before, but I just think we need to move forward on this project and see what's out there. And I think minimum is 40. I mean, if Mr. Stoll is saying 25, I don't know what our options are, but lessons learned. We put an awful lot of money, awful lot of city block grant money into it, and historic board money to try to make this project work. It just seems to be a drag on the city, and if we can find someone to go in and fix this up, and I think a picture does tell 1,000 stories, because the inside of this property is in deplorable condition and needs an awful lot of work. And we all know you get into these projects, you find more problems. So I'm going to support the motion to move forward and get this process going to try to get this back on the tax rolls as soon as we can. And why wait why anymore? I applaud the effort to try to get more money, but we have an appraiser, and a professional appraiser, that's saying this is what it's worth a year ago.
hopefully it's worth at least that much now. And I think we gotta, we spent money for an appraisal. I think we should use it.
Thank you. Councilor Donahue?
Thank you. As someone who was a neighbor to the Nesmith house going back, that was a problem property, and I'll tell you, it was a blight, not only a blight, but a fire hazard for the neighborhood. And if you had gone through it before Middlesex had acquired it, and after, I think it was the Lowell plan and found had put money into it, you'd say, where did the money go? Because it looked as bad, if not worse, than some of the pictures we're looking at here tonight. The fact is, these older antique homes that are restricted, that you can't tear them down, are money pits, period. And they're not, their marketability is marginal, especially when, they are big, they're costly to renovate, costly to maintain, and there's absolutely no parking with this, notwithstanding the size of this facility. So the challenges are known. One of the things that I'm concerned about is that it has been actually the exterior was improved over the past, years, but it has sat there doing nothing all these years. And so we could, raise the bid and then come back and then go back. I'm ready to vote on it tonight. Let's get this, see if we can get someone to buy and pour in the money that's necessary to bring this thing back and get it on the tax roll. The longer we delay, the more it's a hazard to the neighborhood, and it's not benefiting the city at all.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a point of clarification, a comment that Councilor Armin Mercia made about the Nesmith House being a government project. It was not a government project. The Nesmith House was privately funded. The Lowell plan, as we all know, is a private 501c3 corporation. We actually borrowed $500,000 from Shawmut at the time. The UMass Lowell Foundation, again, private nonprofit, donated $200,000 to the effort, and then a number of other corporations and private investors, if you will, gave the balance of the funds. So again, it was not a government project. Just a point of clarification.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay.
Roll call.
Roll. Councilor Caulfield.
One question for Mr. Stoll. Mr. Stoll, please. This is a beautiful building, you would have to admit. How would you rate the exterior of the building after the renovations?
After the renovations, I would say it was in excellent condition.
Excellent.
But over the past several years, because of not being able to properly maintain it.
That's what the report says. The exterior is in excellent condition.
At the time the survey was done.
Right. I just want to make one statement. Any developer who would buy that building would definitely gut the inside, insulate it, rip down the old plaster, put up the sheetrock, new electrical, plumbing, etc. That's what I'm saying. And I know the amendment's going to fail. I can count. But to give this beautiful home a $40,000 price tag is just not fair. Because some developer's going to buy it, renovate it, and it's going to turn into a two-family home with some great rent. So, Mr. Mayor, thanks. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you. I guess the point I was making earlier is I disagree, obviously, with that statement. I think that whatever developer goes in, attempts to gut, and gets into this has to do a total refit of everything. Excuse me, mechanicals, you name it, the place needs to be redone totally. 2,500 square feet per unit, that's a big building. That's a lot of money. That's not going to be $120,000 thrown in there. And the location, real estate, location, location, location. Look behind it. I don't know what people are going to expect they're going to get for rent or to sell it. It might be worth more as two single-family attached units, because then at least you could sell one unit to try and defray some of the costs while you fix the second unit. This is not going to be, in my estimation, a moneymaker. But again, that's the point of having 9 people here, 9 different opinions. But I don't think it's fair to say that someone's going to come in, gut it, put up new sheetrock, and make some money on it. I just don't see that happening. And I think it's sat there long enough with nothing happening, and it's getting worse and worse as the days go on. And, you know, basically, we need to dispose of it. It's a minimum bid. I think we're going to be lucky if we get the minimum. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so roll call on the Councilor Rita Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering if a developer does bid on this, will this come before us so we'll know who the developer would be?
Yes. you
Okay,
would, Council.
good, thanks.
Roll call on the motion to increase, the amendment to increase the minimum bid price from $40,000 to $60,000.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
No.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
No.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
No.
Councilor Elliott.
No.
Mayor Martin.
No.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
4 yeas.
4 yeas, 5 nays, the amendment fails. Roll call on the original vote as approved to establish the minimum bid at $40,000.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes, reluctantly.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
8 yeas and 1 reluctant yea.
I'll make that 2.
Votes approved.
Tried,
Take
we
that too.
tried.
All right, next on the agenda are communications from the city manager in response to council motions and requests. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, if I could just, it's not in your packet, but I did notify by phone calls and emails last week, a communication that, as you know, Matt Coggins has left the employment of the city, thereby creating a vacancy of assistant city manager and director of the Division of Planning and Development. As you all know, I was very pleased last week to appoint Adam Bakey to that position, and I'd like to welcome Adam here tonight. I think he's going to do an outstanding job for the city. He's got a tremendous amount of experience, tremendous amount of knowledge, and perhaps most importantly, a tremendous amount of enthusiasm for the job that lies ahead of us in terms of planning and the development of the city and promoting the city and its economic development. So I'd like to welcome Adam.
Councilor Broderick?
On motions?
We have any other comments about Mr. Baki?
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Welcome and congratulations, Adam.
Sell Lawrence Street for a lot more than $40,000.
His first test.
Councilor Broderick?
Thank you. On the communications?
Yes.
I had a question. There's a notice of certification here from the DOR. If you could just explain what that does now, where we're at in the process of getting our tax rate.
Well, it's certainly the first step in our process of getting the tax rate approved is to make sure that the Department of Revenue agrees with all of our, or that we are in agreement with the Department of Revenue on all of our values. As you know, this was a total reval year for the city, so it was necessary for us to go off and do much more extensive work in establishing those values of the properties. And as I think I indicated to the council very early on, and I certainly indicated publicly, that it was our intention to try to get this done as quickly as possible, as completely as possible, to make sure that we could, if possible, get a tax rate out in at least a preliminary form to the residents of the city. And it was a tremendous undertaking, and I commend the work of the assessors and the contractors that were utilized in that process. But it was, I think it was probably one of the earliest dates that we were able to get, the city was able to get its reval done. And very pleased that, that gives some indication to the residents of the city what their taxes are going to look like for next year and what's happened with their values.
So we're still on target for the estimated range that you had given us?
We're still on target for the estimated range, and as I indicated at that time, we wanted to be very conservative in our approach to give you some sense of what that range would be, but we continue to stand by the fact that we believe it's going to be closer to the lower end of that range, the $17 to $20 range, and we are still on target to have that tax rate set by the Department of Revenue sometime in early December. So again, the history of certainly of the city in the past has been to have that tax rate approved sometime in late December, but we anticipate that will be done much sooner this year as well.
Thank you. And I think we all got an email. I got it in paper form. It wasn't sent to me individually from Anne Marie Page from Centerville. And I was going to, I don't know if I should suspend the rules or basically just send it to the subcommittee. I believe we took this up at the neighborhood traffic subcommittee, large vehicles. Maybe we could just, convene a meeting to address this specifically. But
I don't know if it's in the communications. I don't know that it needs a suspension of the rules. So why don't we just refer that to the subcommittee? Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On that particular issue, the subcommittee has convened meetings, and that is now in the law department, and we're waiting for the law department to come back with the amendment to the ordinance. Councilor Rita Mercier, Councilor Kevin Broderick, and myself are eager to bring that forward to the council because we know of large vehicles in the city, not only in Centerville, but throughout the entire city, that is in a problem with residents throughout the city. So especially recreational vehicles that are blocking the path of vehicles. So we're waiting for that to come back to the subcommittee. And Mr. Mayor, just one other thing. I mentioned it to the manager this evening. Mass Electric has installed a second pole on Stevens Street at Westchester. And what's happening is the Bailey Schools sign is being hidden by this pole. So I've been asked, I neglected to file a motion, but I've been asked by some of the poll workers when they go to the polls in the morning, they can't see the sign. So if we could just move the sign out to the other pole, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional issues under Mr. Clerk?
If I could clarify, councilors, the status of that large vehicle ordinance. It has come back to the city council. The city council took action in referring one section of it, which is a zoning issue, to the planning board. As we reported last week, due to an error in the printing in the newspaper, the date of the hearing, they had to reschedule their hearing to November 19th. So once the planning board has held their hearing, they will then make a recommendation. That section of the large vehicle ordinance will come back to the council, and together with the other section, the regular ordinance, we will then hold a public hearing.
I just want to clarify that the subcommittee and the council is not dragging its feet on this issue.
Right.
We're eager to vote on this and bring it forward. So,
Councilor Broderick?
Perhaps it makes sense then for us to ask the manager to contact the Centerville Neighborhood Action Group and just give them that update in case they're not watching this, just to let them know that it has been acted on. It's going through the governmental process. Thank you.
Other items, Councilman Donza.
One of the communications in our packet is from the Board of Health, and just a point of clarification to the mayors. Will this be referred to some subcommittee, or what action do we need to take on it?
Well, I was going to suggest there is no health subcommittee. I was just going to suggest we refer that to the manager to bring it back in ordinance form. It's a no smoking recommendation from the Board of Health within 50 feet of both hospitals.
If it were in order, I'll make that motion.
So, motion by Councilman Donza to refer the communication from the Board of Health to the city manager for preparation of appropriate ordinance and to bring back for the council for adoption. Second by Council Broderick. Any discussion on that motion? Councilor Rita Mercier?
Well, there was some concern as to, do we as a council have jurisdiction on a private way? That's what my concern was. Lowell General being a private way, do we have any jurisdiction to enforce or vote anything up or down on that? I don't know. That's my question.
Mr. Manager?
Certainly, as part of our review of this and preparation of the ordinance, we will work with the law department to ensure that anything that the council does would meet the legal requirements.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Other issues under communications from the city manager? Okay, hearing none. Motion to accept the remainder of the communications placed on file by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Milanazzo. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The communications are accepted, placed on file. The next item is a vote authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, and expend a grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Health and Human Services in the amount of $7,000 to provide funding for training on 2 mass decontamination units for the Lowell Fire Department. Motion to waive the first full reading by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the first full reading is waived. Second reading by title, a vote authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, and expend a grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Health and Human Services in the amount of $7,000 to provide funding for training on 2 mass decontamination units for the Lowell Fire Department. Any questions on this item? Roll call.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the vote is approved. Next item is a vote authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, and expend a grant from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security from the Greater Lowell Emergency Planning Grant, in the amount of $500 to provide funding for emergency planning. Motion to waive the first full reading by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Mendonça. All those in favor of waiving the first full reading say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the first full reading is waived. Second reading by title, a vote authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, and expend a grant from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security from the Greater Lowell Emergency Planning Grant in the amount of $500 to provide for emergency planning. Any questions on this item? Roll call.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor
Yes.
Caulfield. Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the vote is approved. Next item is a vote authorizing the city manager to, on behalf of the city of Lowell, to accept a gift from the Mitchell family of $300 toward Lowell Police training administered by the Lowell Police Department. Motion to waive the first full reading by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All those in favor of waiving the first full reading say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the first full reading is waived. Second reading by title, a vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept a gift from the Mitchell family of $300 toward Lowell Police training administered by the Lowell Police Department. Questions on this item? Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If we could send a thank you letter to this family, that was very nice of them.
Anything further? Okay. Roll call.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the vote is approved. The next item is a vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to apply for, accept, and expend a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs through the Merrimack Valley Nutrition Program in the amount of $15,000. This amount to be utilized to fund the purchasing of lunch supplies for the operation of the weekly lunch program for senior citizens at the Lowell Senior Center. Motion to waive the first full reading by Councilor Mendonça, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor of waiving the first full reading say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the first full reading is waived. Second reading by title, a vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to apply for, accept, and expend a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs through the Merrimack Valley Nutrition Program in the amount of $15,000 to be utilized to fund the purchasing of lunch supplies for the operation of the weekly lunch program for senior citizens at the Senior Center. Questions on this item? Roll call.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Okay, there's an additional item I request to suspend the rules, an item brought in by the city manager. This is a vote that would authorize revocable license agreements to Verizon for underground cable lines on Chelmsford Street and underground cable lines on West 6th Street. Motion to suspend the rules to consider this item by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Caulfield. All those in favor of suspending the rules for this purpose, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. The vote is to authorize the city manager to execute 2 revocable license agreements from the City of Lowell to Verizon New England to lay, construct, reconstruct, operate, maintain, replace, and remove underground cables and lines upon, over, under, and across a certain public way known as Chelmsford Street near number 719 Chelmsford Street, and to lay, construct, reconstruct, operate, maintain, replace, and remove 1 pole and underground cables and lines over and under across a certain public way known as West 6th Street for the transmission of intelligence and telecommunications. Motion to waive the first full reading by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor of waiving the first full reading, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the first full reading is waived. Second reading by title. A vote authorizing the city manager to execute 2 revocable license agreements from the City of Lowell to Verizon New England to lay, construct, reconstruct, operate, maintain, replace, and remove underground cables and lines upon, over, and under, and across a certain public way known as Chelmsford Street near number 719, and to lay, construct, reconstruct, operate, maintain, replace, and remove 1 pole and underground cables and lines upon, over, under, and across a certain public way known as West 6th Street for the transmission of intelligence and telecommunications. Questions on this item? Roll call.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Mendoza.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue. Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
9.
9 yeas, the vote is approved. Subcommittee reports. Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I received a letter and a petition to fix and address the concerns at the 2 parks and the basketball court at the Flanagan complex, Judge Flanagan complex. The request was from the PAC, the Parent Advisory Committee, and the YAC, the Youth Advisory Committee, both resident groups working with Casey Family Services and spearheaded by Rosalie Willie Bonglow, one of the LHA commissioners. So yesterday, October 29th at 6:30, we took the Parks and Recreation Subcommittee on the road, just like Jack Kerouac, and we met at 580 Chelmsford Street at the Flanagan Community Center. Those that attended included City Councilor Edward Bud Caulfield, a member of the subcommittee, as well as Councilor Kevin Broderick, along with Mr. Manager Bernie Lynch, Tom Belgard, the Commissioner of Parks and Recreation, Mark Young, the Executive Director of Wastewater Utility, Miles Johnson, the Construction Manager of CDM, Camp Dresser and McKee, Dennis Mercia, the Property Manager at Flanagan Complex, and Assistant City Clerk Angela Giccia. We met with a relatively large turnout of residents that share the same concerns about upgrading and making safe a recreational area owned by the city that has been overlooked for many years. We learned from Mark Young and Miles Johnson that the CSO combined sewer overflow work of installing sewer lines that took place on Chelmsford Street will also impact side streets surrounding the Lowell Housing Authority, such as Newell, Wellman, and Doan Street. Particularly Doan Street, which will, when the work is going to be done, will cut through and tear up a large portion of the basketball court area. These streets, such as Wellman Street, suffer backup problems, and we need to replace the sewer lines to improve the conditions in this area, as well as fulfill our obligation with the federal order given to this city, federally mandated that we do this work. The subcommittee asked the residents to give us input as to what they would like to see as far as recreation in the open space area, and their response was that they would like to see the basketball court made whole again and brought back to a serviceful court, because as it stands now, the court is full of overgrown weeds, and they would like the court lit so that the kids could feel safe while playing there, but that the lights be on a timer to function so that it doesn't impact a neighborhood. They requested more police surveillance. They would like the police to be more friendly to the youth at that complex so that the kids could get to know the police, that they are their friends, and show an interest in them in a positive way. They feel that the communication is lacking between the youth and the police, so that's something that when we meet again, we could bring someone from, probably the sector commander from that area. there was a growing concern about the skateboard park instead of a tennis court that is there now. Children in that complex are really not interested in tennis. I hope that Robert Hayden isn't listening, but these children are not into the tennis aspect of recreation. The children in that complex thought that a skateboard park would be nice, or that a handball area would be more utilized. The swimming pool at the Mulligan Park, which is one of the two parks, is great for the children and should remain open as it has, and thankfully it has remained open this past and in this present summer season, which is a plus for the city of Lowell. Because the construction work on the streets will be done in the winter months, we will meet again in the spring with plans and direction, and we will, through you, Mr. Manager, use the expertise of someone in the planning department, namely Diane Trad, who is a design planner who will shed more light on where we're going and what we're looking for in terms of a design. So that a motion was made, and I'm not sure that I have this down pat about the motion because there was a lot of conversing back and forth. So a motion was made regarding requesting that the city manager, Tom Bellegarde, meet with Gary Wallace, the executive director of the Lowell Housing Authority, to discuss what took place at a meeting and see if we can form a team to make this request become a reality, and meet back in 2 months with ideas that the children who live there might have some ideas on what they want to see done. It was a very, very interesting and well-attended, and this is what this city is all about. Going out to the community. We talk about beautifying neighborhoods one park at a time. I know our state representatives, Steve Panagiotakis, and our 3 state reps, Kevin Murphy, Tom Golden, and David Nangle, brought forth $450,000, and it was spread amongst 9 area parks in the city, and every week we're going to at least one function to see how beautiful it's going to be, or we're groundbreaking at another point. So I'm very excited about this, and I don't know how we can come back and say, gee, can we have some more for this park or whatever, but I think through being very aggressive and using our imagination and being creative, I'm sure we can find a way to make this happen. It won't happen overnight. We told the residents there that we are listening to your concerns. We will have a plan in place. Our mind is open to do this, and I'm sure we'll find a way. And so we'll be meeting again. And so if my colleagues have any more to add to this report of progress, this is a report of progress, and my colleagues might have more to add. But thank you, Mr. Manager, for being there. I know that you work here all day long, and then you take time at night to go out there. So thank you for everybody getting involved with it.
Thank you, Councilor. Anything further on the report? Motion to accept the report by Councilor Milanazzo, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Additional subcommittee reports.
Right here.
Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Neighborhood Traffic Subcommittee convened a meeting last evening at 5 p.m. at City Hall. And in attendance is Manager Lynch, Assistant City Manager Andy Sheehan, Captain Demora, Councilor Jim Milanazzo, Councilor Rita Mercy, who's a member of the committee, and Councilor Kevin Broderick. And the gist of the meeting was to discuss the Chancery Street construction, the installation of stormwater drains, and so forth. And I think everything is going fine up there. I want to compliment the manager for addressing the signage. We also had some communications in the Lowell Sun to let the residents know, the business know, that the detours and so forth and everything is opened primarily for the businesses and for the residents. There was just one issue that was brought up Thursday evening. I want to compliment Nancy Judge as well. There was a meeting at the Highlands Betterment Council at the Daily School, and residents had concerns about traffic details and getting the traffic to flow out of Norcross Street onto Stevens and Upham Street and so forth. But I think that's all been taken care of. There were no one here complaining, so I think everything's going fine, and the project is going along smoothly. So thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you. Anything further on that report? Motion to accept the report by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Milonazo. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Additional subcommittee reports. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I'll be brief. We had two brief subcommittee meetings tonight. One was the Environmental Subcommittee met to introduce, and the manager has appointed a Green Building Commission, which was one of the one of the issues that the subcommittee has been working on. And there was a very enthusiastic crowd, if you will, those being appointed or have been appointed to start working on issues related to green building and conservation measures and things of that nature. So they will be meeting on a regular basis and will report back to the subcommittee when they do have some progress, and that essentially was the meeting. So I won't go into the, it was televised, so I'm sure the people at home have seen it, but essentially, again, just looking at energy conservation measures and how to, do green building construction in the city, and primarily put into place some measures and procedures and processes that people can take a look at. So I'm sort of rambling on here, but they'll be back to us when we have more information and more progress on that commission.
Motion to accept the report by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The second meeting was a meeting of the ad hoc subcommittee that was established to look at building and health code violations in the city. And we met several months ago, and we have been awaiting the arrival of Mr. Camacho, the new building commissioner, as well as Mr. Sheehan, who have been working on ways to streamline, improve the efficiency and the effectiveness, if you will, of building and health violations in the city. The manager did report that coming this February, there'll be an online system, a web-based system for people to register complaints or issues or concerns that they have in their particular neighborhood with building or health code violations. And that's going to serve a number of purposes. Number one, it's going to make it easier and more accessible to people in the city if there is an issue in their particular neighborhood. It'll help the neighborhood organizations who typically field these complaints and then forward it to the manager or members of the council. But also, or more importantly, it's going to provide a tracking system for the city to use, similar to, as the manager explained, the ComStat information that the police department use, where they can identify the issues and put together a strategy or plan in place if they find a trend on a certain number of violations that are taking place on a regular basis. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for people in the city. Again, the manager is in the process, or his staff, of training the inspectors on the system, on the software, and it should be up and running in February. The manager indicated maybe a little bit sooner, but it'll also allow the city to put together a database of information to use and how to address these problems that are occurring on a regular basis. So, I hope it also puts the onus on these absentee landlords that, typically, they're collecting the rent, they don't step foot in the city, yet, there's numerous violations that need to be addressed. So, that's the report from the subcommittee. We will meet again. Mr. Camacho, at the end of the meeting, did indicate that he's met with the Housing Authority and CTI because sometimes their paths cross, addressing similar issues by their inspectors, and they're working on putting together a plan or a process so they can merge those resources and use them more effectively. So, Mr. Manager, I don't know if you have or Mr. Sheen have anything to add, but that's the report, and I think it's it's a good step to bring government to the people again and let them register their complaints and issues and to be addressed in a more more streamlined or more timely manner. So,
Mr. Manager, do you have it?
I think, Mr. Mayor, I think that Councilor Elliott summarized what we're looking to do. We take the issue of code enforcement very seriously. We see that as a key part of our effort to respond to neighborhood concerns. And Mr. Sheehan and has been working with Mr. Camacho and Mr. Singleton, Mr. Damaris, on trying to coordinate all of those efforts, trying to build up the use of our neighborhood impact team. We used it quite extensively this summer, but we're going to try to enlarge upon that in the coming months and into next year. I think we're looking at the overall structure of our organization to make sure we're being as effective and as responsive as we can be. But I certainly think, as I said at the outset of the subcommittee meeting, you really can't manage what you can't measure, and it's important for us to get that type of data and that type of information. And as you know, that's a key part of the effort that I had in doing some restructuring in this fiscal year, and one that we are hoping to really build upon moving forward. And this system that we're putting in place, the web-based system, really allows us to do a number of things, including measuring what we're doing, identifying trends, tracking complaints and resident issues very closely, and also being able to respond more effectively to those residents with the progress of how we're addressing their issues. So I think it's all good things that we're doing, and hopefully the results will be a stepped-up enforcement throughout the city so that people can see the results of those efforts.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. If I could just add, I've had several conversations with Mayor Curtatone in Somerville. This has been met with overwhelming positive feedback by constituents in Somerville. And that's a community with a profile much like ours. They're much closer to the center city, but it's an urban area. A lot of the same issues we face with trash and other things they've faced, and they've had great success in, and they've actually offered services to send staff up here to help us train or implement their program. And the public in Somerville's been most appreciative of this, and they're trying to get it in as many communities as possible. So we're going to benefit from some of the experience they had as well. Motion to accept the report by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Milanazzo. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Additional subcommittee reports. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I inadvertently missed the fact that I wanted to submit into the record the request from the petitioners and their signatures. I copied this at home, and I wanted to give this as part of the record. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure the clerk would be happy to enter that in the record of the meeting. Councilor Donahue.
Thank you. Not a report, but just an announcement about a subcommittee. Councilor Milanazzo had filed a motion asking that the Public Safety Subcommittee take up the most recent uniform crime report provided, and we did receive a report from the manager and Chief LaValle. And given that next week is an election, we will have that subcommittee 2 weeks from tonight at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further subcommittee reports? Okay, there is one petition, motion to refer to the Law Department by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matter is referred to the Law Department. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are we not allowed to discuss this particular thing because I don't really know exactly what this is about? We cannot discuss it, or?
No, I think...
I don't think there's any prohibition against that.
No. Well,
Mr. Manager?
Sure. If, and the solicitor is here as well to give some feedback too. This is a lawsuit that's been brought by a number of city employees. I believe there's 89 in total that are plaintiffs. Essentially, it alleges a violation of the Fair Labor Standards Act there isn't a time frame on this, so I don't know how far back it goes. We just received this late last week, so we haven't had a chance. We have to respond within 20 days of the service, so we will be doing that. Obviously, we want to ensure that the city is abiding by the Fair Labor Standards Act, but this was the first time it was brought to our attention. So I really haven't been able to determine whether what the status is. There wasn't any remedy sought prior to going into federal court. So it has nothing. I will say that it has nothing to do with any of the union issues in the city. This is by 89 separate employees that have joined together in this suit.
So if you could just keep us abreast as to
Absolutely.
what's going on with this, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you. It looks like it's not a contract issue, first off, negotiation-wise.
It is not.
I read through it briefly, and it doesn't have a whole lot of information.
Right.
We don't know when the alleged breach of the Labor Standards Act is.
Right.
You know, so if you could maybe let us know what, as you gather information, I don't know how you're going to answer, I guess you just deny, but it looks like they're talking about differential pay and overtime and certain things that must have been in another contract, excuse me.
Right.
But it has nothing to do with the current negotiations, correct?
It has nothing to do with the current negotiations, and I think it's a good point in terms of the time frame that we're talking about. It's unclear to me what type of time frame we're looking at, how far back this goes, and very frankly, I'm not. I have to look into the manner in which we're complying with the Fair Labor Standards Act. That's been a law that's been on the books now for, I believe it was passed, and it was it goes back into the Garcia decision in 1984, 85, and it was a hot issue back then for municipalities to abide by that. How the city is handling that, I'm not aware, so we'll have to take a look at that.
Thank you. Councilman Donza?
Yeah, I looked through it and didn't see a lot of information, so the question I would have, if you could provide it to us at some time, if you can even make that out, is what's the dollar amount that they're claiming? Is there some total dollar amount for this claim, just to have an understanding of what the exposure is for us?
Councilor Elliott?
This is not a subcommittee report.
Oh, this is
It's not
different
on
than
this
the
issue, no.
petition?
No.
All right, anything further on this petition? All right, all those in favor of referring this to the Law Department, say aye. Any opposed, the matter is referred to the Law Department. Councilor Elliott?
I just want to mention, this was, I could wait till the end, but I attended a meeting, an event on Sunday here, and I thought it's worthy of mentioning. It was called Wagapalooza, and I think the city did a fine job in helping this organization set up the JFK Center. I attended with myself and Councilman Milanazzo, and essentially it was an event for to raise money for the dog park that is being planned. That was brought up by the mayor. The mayor was there. And I think it just goes to show that we reach out to so many organizations and so many groups and so many cultures, and now we're even reaching out to animal lovers. I had no idea how many dog owners there were in the city, but they came out in numbers in support of this, and we have dedicated so many parks to so many individuals, which is rightfully so, and we have some for so many sporting events, and now we're including dog owners that need a place to go because dogs aren't allowed in the parks, and I thought it was a good testament to the city and our ability to reach out to every possible group and show them that we do care about everyone, especially dog owners. And I want to say there were hundreds of dogs there, but there were a lot of dogs and a lot of dog owners, and I thought it was important that we mentioned that.
Thanks
for
bringing
motion,
it up,
Mayor,
Councilor. Yeah, I mean, especially with all the recent development in the downtown and the fact that pets aren't allowed on most city parks. I mean, I think, we knew with the development of the downtown we were going to get new problems, and I think this is one that I know the administration is working on and will hopefully have favorable results soon. Councilor Donahue?
Did Councilor Milanazzo bring his dog?
He did bring Ellie.
I knew it.
Yes, and Ellie and Oliver had a good time for a little while.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could, on another matter, if the council would indulge me, since the Red Sox won the World Series this week, I was just wondering if it made sense to try to have a Mike Lowell Day here in the city and work through our marketing subcommittee as well as the planning office, as well as the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and see if we could bring Mike Lowell to Lowell. I understand it was tried once before, and he requested a donation to be made to his favorite charity, which I can understand. But in light of the World Series, we could possibly have some private donors that would be willing to do that, and it might be a good way to bring some notoriety to the city.
There's a lot
Thank
to
you.
like about Lowell.
I know the manager's been working on this. I don't know what you're able to
Okay,
say,
well, I
Mr.
apologize.
Manager,
I don't
but-
mean to steal your thunder, but I just was thinking it might be a good idea.
Mr. Manager? you have anything?
Just that I think that's a great idea, and there are efforts currently underway along those lines, I urge everyone to take a look at the Boston Globe this weekend, and there'll be some exposure for the city in there. I thought there was a great article. There was a great letter to the editor, actually in the Sun. Oh, excuse me, it was the Globe today.
It was the Globe, right.
Recommending that, in fact, Mike Lowell did such a great job in the World Series and was such a most valuable player that we should name a city in the Commonwealth after
Right,
him.
right.
So
I looked to see if there was a Michael, Massachusetts, but there's not. So I'm sure they meant Lowell.
But I will. I'll keep the council up to date on that, and I think that's certainly a great idea that we're
Great. Thank you.
pursuing.
Okay, thank you. I think that concludes the subcommittee reports and the petitions. So we can resume with the motions. The next motion is by Councilor Mendonça. The City Council requests the City Manager report on fire station closings in each of the past 3 quarters. Second by Councilor Rita Mercia. Councilor Mendonça.
Yes, the impetus for this was actually a candidate questionnaire I received, and probably all the councilors received as well. But then I was over by the Pine Street Fire Station, and lo and behold, it was closed. So I know that when we changed the city, not I at the time, but the scheduling of the fire department to the new schedule that they're on now, and now it's become routine. At the time, one of the benefits that was touted is that it would reduce the station closings. And so that's kind of like the information that I'm looking for is if we compare some information in this year from, hopefully there's the data available for it, to prior to the change, do we now have fewer station closings or more? And maybe there's other factors involved that could be explained. So that's the kind of information I'm looking for. Is it getting worse, or is it not really any worse than it was before?
Okay. Thank you. Anything further on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's approved. The next motion is mine. Any objection to taking it from here?
Nope.
The motion is City Council requests the City Manager have traffic engineer investigate erecting one-way street sign at the corner of Dublin and Cork Streets.
Second.
Second by Councilor Armin Mercier. Mr. I got a pretty thoughtful letter from a resident on one of those streets, which I can share with you. I don't know if it's a question of just a missing sign or if it's to make the street one way, and it's not. At least at one time it was one way, if it's not today, and I know there's a process of contacting neighbors if we have to go through that. But that's essentially the motion. Anything further on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. Next motion by Councilor Rita Mercier. The City Council requests the City Manager take necessary action to name the new girls softball field at Shed Park for firefighter and girls Shed Park Raiders coach Kelly L. Page. Second by Councilor Milanazzo. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is with great pride that I present this motion at the request of our state legislative delegation, who forwarded me a letter from the great General Court with their signatures on it, from Senator Panagiatakis, State Senator, David Nangle, State Representative, Kevin Murphy, and Thomas Golden, State Representatives. And they asked me to, and I included this letter in everybody's packet, to name the girls' softball field at Shed Park in honor of Kelly L. Page. Kelly was a Lowell firefighter and an EMT who lost his life while serving in the line of duty for the city. Kelly served in the United States Navy and was a veteran of the Persian Gulf War and Operation Desert Storm. His military career spanned 12 years, and he received numerous decorations, medals, and badges for his service. Growing up, Kelly enjoyed playing baseball and all outdoor activities, so much so that he passed his love and enjoyment of sports down to his daughters. He loved coaching, especially coaching his daughters, his nieces, and his nephews. He had been currently coaching Lowell Junior High football at Colley Stadium. He coached his daughter Kylie's basketball team, the 7th grade Lowell travel team. He coached the Shed Park Raiders, his daughter Kaylin's softball team, and he loved being at the kids' level. Kelly had a gift with children, and he was a very patient man. He loved his job with the city, his family, his neighborhood, and above all, he loved coaching. That love for coaching was quite evident that this is a fitting honor for an honorable, loving man to bestow to a person who coached girls softball in the very field that this new girls softball is in. It is more than fitting to name a field that will be newly constructed girls softball field after a man who truly deserves the honor. And the state delegation also forwarded a beautiful letter in support of this motion, and it is with an honor that I listened to what they said and I made this motion. I think it's deserving. And I'd like to submit this letter as part of the record as well as to our naming of this girls softball field.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. And I believe that concludes the agenda. Councilor Milanazzo, do you?
I just want to remind everyone that next Tuesday is Election Day and wish all of the candidates good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Armin Mercier, second by Councilor Mendonça. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Meeting stands adjourned.
Sometimes I get crazy. Must be the Halloween spirit. Yes, it is. Thanks, Tom.